Hello, hello. Welcome to our first live webinar of 2024. I'm excited to be joined today by Boris Milan. Boris is a 9-time Grammy-winning mixing and mastering engineer, and we couldn't be more grateful to have you with us here today, Boris.
Uh,
Boris, perhaps you could just give us a bit of an introduction to yourself and some of your experience, and maybe talk about how you've come to know Source Elements.
okay, I'll try to make it short.
Sure.
Well, I am a sound engineer. My main job is mixing and mastering, but I have done so many roles in the engineering, arena. I've been doing this for 30 something years. I'm originally from Venezuela, but moved 25 years ago to the U.S. So right now I'm located and based in Miami, and I work with a ton of clients everywhere in the world, and a ton of different styles of music and artists. And I have artists that are very well known, and I have artists that are beginning their journey as producers or artists or musicians, and that's what I do. So the way I contacted Source Elements is just by chance. Last year, we were in Sevilla. We were visiting Sevilla with the Latin Grammys, and we had the choice to meet the people of Source Element by chance. We had what we call the WhatsApp group that everybody was contacting, and it was really funny and was something that came really natural. A lot of people that were coming from this side of the world to Spain, and my wife started a WhatsApp group that grew exponentially very, very fast and very unexpectedly. So we did like a meeting, and that meeting went, like 80 people in one plaza in Sevilla. So we met, Kike, and we connected very, very fast. We started talking about what I do, what they did, and I knew about Source Element for a long time because I know it's a company that has been doing this type of tools for a long time, but never had the chance to really explore them. And you guys invited me to say, okay, why don't you check it out? And that was in November. I started using your product, which is Nexus. The Nexus is basically tailored to what I do, and it's been pretty amazing. I've been using other different ways to connect with my clients, and this really brings something different, and it's just more refined for what I do.
Awesome. And for the viewers at home who might not know what Source-Nexus Suite is, Source-Nexus Suite is a bundle of solutions that all sort of drive towards that remote collaboration playback. Nexus IO is sort of the legacy component of Nexus that a lot of people are familiar with Nexus. That is what they have come to know and love, and that's sort of the backbone for routing audio between applications on your workstation. And we've gone further with the product line to introduce Source-Nexus Review, which you place on your master fader, and it handles a lot of the audio routing to conferencing platforms, specifically the Nexus Gateway, which is what we're streaming out of right now. And lastly, we've released Source-Nexus Router, which empowers Nexus greatly. It's actually what I'm using to collect all of our audio streams right now to push out to the stream. It's a router. It's a beautiful thing that's sort of a Swiss Army knife of there's all those edge cases on a computer when I need to move something over here, but I'm technically not supposed to be able to do that from within the UI. So I can show some of those quickly here. I probably should have done that while I was introducing them. Here's, here, let me just move over to my desktop. And so what I have up right now is the Source-Nexus Review, which has just been placed on a master fader. And everything that's flowing through my mix bus is going out and being streamed over to Boris. And my microphone assignment is here. And it's pretty set and forget. And Nexus IO, I'm not sure if I have an instance up right now, but the Nexus control panel is a part of Nexus IO, and that's where you can create custom devices, which then can be used inside Nexus router. So in my setup here, I've got a bunch of microphones and instruments in my studio, and I have kind of collapsed them all down into just a stereo device, just to keep it super simple. It's just for monitoring in call environments. So if I needed to play Boris a riff, it's all readily here at my fingertips. So I'm just going to move back over to the gateway for a second here. And yeah, there's just to backtrack for a minute here, the mentoring and education side of things seems like a pretty big passion of yours. I understand that there's been a recent development with AES as well in Florida. Is there anything you can
Oh,
tell us about that?
yeah. Well, I'm happy to inform that we're trying. I mean, AES South Florida has been, for a lack of a better word, very, uh, you know, hasn't moved a lot in the few years behind. So we are trying to invigorate again the South Florida, which is everything Miami and Boca and all that area up until the south, very much south part of Miami. All the engineers and the AES. For the people that don't know, AES is the Audio Engineering Society, and there are a lot of engineers here in South Florida, and we feel that the AES can do something to put them together and make community again and do something. So yeah, now I'm part of the chair. I'm the vice chair of the AES in South Florida, and we we're looking forward to get in touch with all the engineers here in this part of Florida.
Amazing.
So yeah,
And
and talking about what you mentioned, mentoring, the other side that I've been a little bit involved is with the Grammys as a mentor. I made you that little mention that while COVID, the Grammys were still doing the mentoring program through Grammy U and all that, and they basically reach out for professionals, all kinds of professional producers, composers, musicians, and also engineers. And one of the ways that we started doing it was via the internet, and this sort of tools is just tailor made for that application.
mhm.
So giving that kind of classes and reaching out for explaining things is in a much more um, clear way. It's a very obvious for you when you can share your screen and all that is and talk directly and see the faces of your of the people that are talking to you.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Last time that we had a conversation, you were talking about how much it changes some of your working sessions to be able to have that sort of face to face experience. And yeah, I guess I'm wondering if maybe you could expand on that a little bit, and if there's any,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
of course. I mean, I've been doing. Let me pull back a little bit because I've been doing this for quite a while. The idea of working, on with clients that are not next to you, that are not inside the studio, sitting with you, which is the old way to do that. It's something that I've been doing for a while. I have clients from South America. I have clients from Europe. All parts of the world, even Australia. And as a mixer, you basically work on a song and present that song, and there is always some sort of a review process. The client wants more vocal, or the client wants to hear more bass, or they want to edit something, and the idea of being far away, well, it is a challenge. It can be a challenge, but we have worked around it, and I have clients all over the world. And I've been doing it for quite a while now. It's been always a long process. It started with a phone call or emails, and then you do revisions with an email, and then they here, listen to the first revision. They send them another email, and that was originally how the process was. Then the internet got better. Now you have tools like I'm going to talk about them, Zoom and stuff like that. But these are tools that are not designed for the studio recording environment. These are tools that are for basically talking. But when you start to dealing with routing audio and talking and monitoring, and then you add the idea of quality monitoring. You want to hear the music with good quality.
Hmm.
Uh, then that's an issue. The other issue is to talk to the client. And emails are great, but they don't tell you the tone, and or you cannot hear if they really liked it. I have this mention that I have a list of requests with numbers and timings, and raise it and or erase that, or I want this brighter. But when you type an email, there's no way to really tell if the client is happy with what they are listening, or if they are not pleased at all. And it's a little frustrating when you're working on this side of the world. So the idea of having this tool that can, first of all, I can talk to them, I can see their faces, and they can see mine. I can share my screen, and they can see Pro Tools. I work with Pro Tools, but they can see whatever DAW you are using. And that dynamic really changed everything, because I can tell you a story, and I don't might want to make this too long, but
Go for it.
I was working with a band. They had a producer. The producer was also an engineer. Didn't know much about me, but the band was really into me mixing their project. So obviously, I spoke with the producer, and we exchanged ideas. But when the time came to actually review the track, he had some suggestions, and I pulled out the tell him, okay, let's meet at such an hour. And we started the session. I can see him. First time we saw each other, by the way. And we started talking, and he was let's say that the dynamic at the beginning was a little dry. And he said, well, can you do this, and can you do that, can you raise the vocal? And in a few minutes, I was doing what he was saying, like really fast, and he could see me opening the plugins and raising the vocal, and it went so smoothly that his demeanor, the way that he spoke to me, really changed very quickly, from a kind of dry, I don't know this guy, and let me see what we can do, to hey, everything is working out the way I want to, as a producer. So I was delivering what he wanted. And again, these were really minor changes, and because when you're mixing, you say, okay, vocal, half a dB here, and maybe a little brighter, or maybe a little low end, and those small tweaks really make a difference for the client.
Hmm.
But the dynamic that he was looking at my face, I was looking at him. I could hear immediately what he was saying, and he said, yeah, that's okay. Go back a little bit. And his demeanor, the way we communicated, really changed it uh, very quickly, from a dry communication dynamic to a very friendly one.
Hmm.
Uh, that translated to have the session done in, I would say, 40 minutes. The revisions were done. He was really happy. He said, okay, well, print that version. I'll show it to the band. Um, Next
Checks
day,
in
he
the
said,
mail.
hey, yeah, the next day he said, hey, I talked to the band. They loved it. It's done, basically. So from the beginning, which was a little, I don't know if you worked with bands, but working with bands is a very particular dynamic. Everybody
Mm.
has a voice. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody's, they have their own perspective and point of view. The bassist is looking at the bass, and the vocal is looking at the vocal, and the producer is trying to put everything together. So the tool that allowed me to make what he wanted fast was this one, because I could
Yeah,
see him, he could see me, and he could hear with good quality, by the way. He could hear all the changes right away, immediately, and
it's really
that
interesting.
so
Yeah,
something that could have happened in the course of 3 4 days happened in 40 minutes.
yeah, that's wild. That's it's building trust. It seems like that's a big part of that initial hurdle in that beginning relationship. Um, you touched on a lot of things that brought a lot of thoughts to my mind here, and the one thing that I've always found kind of difficult to put a finger on that really impacts how this is perceived is like a listening, creating a an environment where there's like listening parity. Because often I think what happens is something sounding really great over your loudspeakers in the room there, and obviously we will never get 100% listening parity because your ears are different than mine. I have different speakers put on my head here, but to know that we're not that there's not a significant degradation in the signal that you are intending to send to me when it arrives to me now gives us all this kind of common ground to talk. And obviously once you get over that sort of trust layer, okay, I'm working with the pro, he's got better plugins than me and knows his way around to all that stuff goes away, and now you're really kind of getting closer to that feeling like you're in the room with everyone. um, yeah, which is really key. So
Yeah.
it's
Next
interesting.
to put him in a plane, and making it coming here and sitting with me, this would be the next best thing.
Yeah,
I think it's he was comfortable, and we bonded. I could remember I did a little shortcut and moved and copied really quick something, and he said, okay, wait, how do you do that? Show me. Because I mean, the issue of fixing the mix, or reviewing the mix, uh, passed to us, a later problem. It wasn't a problem anymore, and he started looking at how I work, and he was interested, and he was making questions. So it was really really fun. And that again is because we could see each other, and because he was listening to me, and I could listen to him, and the way he was talking. It's a very very cool dynamic.
yeah. There's so much kind of gray area in the way that people talk about music. I find more so in music than there is in post. You still get it in post though, where someone's like, "I want it to sound huge" or whatever, and you're like, "Okay." There's a lot of different ways that could go down, and when you're handling all this kind of feedback over email, there's probably a couple factors working against you, right? Is that somebody doesn't perceive that the amount of work that goes into what they're asking over email, they're not privy to it, they're not watching you do that work.
Oh,
and
totally.
and that ability to kind of say, like, what do you mean when you say you want it to sound more purple? You could, that's a real time negotiation now of happening, like more like this. Okay, you're good with that. So yeah, that's I can imagine in a band dynamic that's it's a bit different, but it's
Yeah,
really great to hear that from you, because obviously we make the software, and it's rooted from a place of experience and expertise that we think these things will help people finish a session faster. But to actually see it out in the wild in someone else's hands and say, yeah, it's this job went down so easily, and so yeah, it's great
yeah.
great to hear that.
At the end of the day, time is actually money, on what we do, and on everything, I guess. And to be able to advance so much in shorten the time that we invest, again, because this used to be days of work. They make the email, and I send the changes, and they listen, and they show it to the whole band. But the next day, maybe they once they say, one people say, okay, this is too much, go back. The other one, I want more. That went down to actually minutes, and it was really cool.
Hmm.
And again, it allows me to reach so many people around the world. We hear the word globalization, and this is actually the way to do it. At least in music, the globalization to reach someone in Spain, or reach someone in Australia or in Colombia. it's just amazing.
Yeah. I'm just there's a question that was asked here before the webinar, and I wanted to throw it over to you now because it seems like an opportune time to do it here. But do you have any advice for people that are coming up in this craft about working with another audio producer, maybe someone who's calls themselves exclusively a mixer, like that scenario you described, working with another producer, and just generally anyone that's coming up in this industry. Do you have any advice on maybe how they can reach a bigger client base? I assume that's the number one thing that most people are trying to accomplish. But
Well, for sure. I mean, used before you could hear people saying, "Oh, go to studios and be a runner and be an intern." I mean, and the fact of the matter is that today there are not so many studios available. There are no longer big studios, and they are less and less and less. Just because what we're doing, it become a more your studio. Look at you. You are in Canada at your place, and you have your own studio. I have my studio. This is what I do. Most of the producers and musicians are have their own environment, with their laptops and all their interfaces and microphones. So the dynamic universally has changed. So what I'm saying is there are less big places to reach and say, can I be an assistant? But that doesn't really mean that you cannot reach people that are professional, and maybe you can talk to them and say, can I work for you? Can we do something? Can we collaborate? And really learn about that. And that's really important. That's one thing. It requires a little more digging, maybe, but
mm-hmm.
it is possible. The other thing is, uh, you know, I always speak about being professional, and when I mean being professional, is it doesn't really mean that all the tools and you have a rack of very expensive gear. That what I mean is to know what you're doing, don't oversell it, be on time, deliver what you're promising, and that would be the way to grow. Now, is that an immediate boom and you're going to be so popular in a month? Obviously, no. But this is a career that you build on. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you to learn to be a professional, and that's that. When I spoke with my daughter, most of going to the university, yes, you're learning a career, but you're also learning to be professional, to deliver, to be responsible, and
Mm-hmm.
to talk to your clients and tell the truth. And that is important. That is something that has to be learned and applied on a daily basis. So that's one of my recommendations.
Hmm. Yeah, one of the studios that I used to work with had this one incredible engineer. Shout out to Bill Hermans if he's out there and listening by any means. But everyone loved to work with him. He had what I think was called the best bedside manner in the biz. He had this relationship with the craft that was very much of, I'm going to take you where you want to go. I will give you feedback the whole way. I can give you ideas. I can tell you, here's something we can do. But it's ultimately, the client that's driving the car, if you will, or he was the
Mhm.
driver, but they're asking, he's the chauffeur, if you will. So, um, yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about all those non-technical things that really kind of can be a bigger impact on the
Oh
future.
yeah.
And
I know a lot of clients that just appreciate being with someone that makes them feel comfortable and they make them feel attended. I always say, I have people say, "Oh, you are the mixer, you know," and really, we are providing a service. I'm providing a service. The artist is my client. The people that listen to their music is my client as well, even though they are not paying me. What I do is directed and addressed to them, basically. So I have to make my client happy. It's a service, and if I have that in mind and I work towards that direction, It's the right way to do it. And one of the things is, be nice, be professional, be on time, listen to them, don't be obnoxious, or listen to their ideas, even though if you think the idea is not that great. Try, make an effort, see if you can make it work, and
Hmm.
they will appreciate it. you know
Amazing. Um, well, just having a look at some other quick questions here. We've had a few conversations about Dolby Atmos, and I'm just sort of curious where you're at with that. I think, from what I understand, you've got a bit of an Atmos mix
yeah,
stage.
you can see that
I
the
think my
rear
camera's
speakers.
just clipping them out. But what do you love about it? What do you hate about it? Oh, let's
I
focus on
I
the love.
I tell you the one thing. I love the new way of listening to things. I think it opens up so many possibilities as an engineer and as a producer, as a composer. It's just a big I don't know, screen to paint on. It opens very big windows where you can create and you can try things. uh, I have had some people that said, "Oh, this is a fade. This is just a fashion thing. It's gonna go away." And I don't agree. I actually think that this new way of listening really delivers something that is different. I had a chance to listen to it a couple of years ago with my wife. We went to Las Vegas. We went to a Dolby presentation, and the both of us were like, "Wow, this is amazing." And immediately we talked about getting on board with the technology. So I always say, before you say something, come here, sit down, and listen to it, because to me it was, when I heard it, it really made like an impact into my feelings. I think I found a new technology to fall in love with and use it to market the music in a different way. And it really was something that, my skin changed when I heard what I heard. That I had the chance to go in a very expensive Mercedes US SUV,
Hmm.
and they played a couple of songs, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing." So uh,
Yeah.
long story short, I've been trying to educate my clients, and I've been bringing people to my studio, and every one of them has said, "You have done a tremendous, you know, a problem. You gave me a problem." Basically, they say, "I can unhear what I heard here. I cannot
Wow.
hear music the way it was used to be." So, the stereo, which is a great thing, is just enhanced by this bubble of sound that we have with Atmos, and I think it's just great. I love it, and I believe in it.
Well, I'm. This seems like a very appropriate time to say that we're excited to be bringing Atmos into our workflows. I can't say too much specific about it, but I have been given the green light that we can let everyone know that that is coming, and it's super exciting. I personally am like, I know there's a lot of hype around Atmos, and sometimes I think it's maybe coming from a good place, but is in the wrong avenue. But I really or there's, how just anything with hype goes. There's people that are hyping it for reasons that are not necessarily what it was intended for. But there's absolutely nothing like hearing, over loudspeakers, having all of that information, the depth of everything, and better soundstage. But this, to streamline the deliverables, is kind of one of the things that I actually see from maybe it's not fun to talk about, but when you look at what goes into a finalized piece of content, whether it's music or a film or television, there's so many different deliverables. And I like the promise of Atmos streamlining that. So you could be like, this is ready to go from this speaker configuration all the way up to this. I don't know what you have on your end, but it's going to be one file, hopefully, served out to you and optimized for whatever you're listening on. So Yeah, that's super exciting. And I'm
That's a
curious.
big one.
Yeah, it's very big, especially for the theatrical people. Like I that's where the deliverables gets it's such a bear. Um, and I'm curious, like, what your experience was, just kind of jumping into Atmos because it's a bit intimidating. There's a lot of information missing. I want to say, or
Oh
like,
wow.
yeah.
I can tell you a little bit of that. I when we started investing in because it is an investment. I cannot say it's something that, oh, you just put some speakers and off you go. I invested not only in making the room ready, and and bringing the technicians from Dolby and all that to certify the room. You also have to certify yourself. But then again, there is this curve about learning how to use the technology in a musical way, because the big issue is Atmos is not new. In movies we've had it for many years. What is new is to apply that into music and
Hmm.
listening to music and give it a new twist and a new experience. So what you're saying about the deliverables, they are always there. It's just that now with Atmos you have more channels. More channels, it just means more work, because we had the deliverables in stereo. You had to do the TV track, you had to do the instrumentals, and you have to archive the thing. So it's sort of the same thing in Atmos, but it's just more complex because there are more variables, and those are things that you have to take in account. But the process has been a little long, but it's been very rewarding. So yeah, the Atmos thing is, I think, is here to stay. The biggest uh, uh, difference that Atmos is bringing is that it adapts to the playback system that you have,
Yeah.
and that is a big one, because if you have a cell phone, it knows it's a cell phone. If you have a headphone, it knows there are headphones. If you have a soundbar, then it knows the soundbar has four speakers, and then it adapts to that. So you have all the formats in one file, as you say. So
Hmm.
that is the biggest change.
Well, speaking of learning curves, we kind of threw you into the deep end with session or sorry, with the Source-Nexus Suite. So I'm curious, how did you fare? Because we really just were like, here you go. We'll chat with you in a couple weeks, see how you do. And I was
Yeah.
really pleasantly surprised to when we reconnected to hear that you had been using it. But I'm really curious. What were your initial impressions and.
Yeah. Well, I have been playing around with the Nexus product just a little bit, just a couple of months actually. And yeah, it was actually in December. December was fairly slow, but I'm happy to report that it just works. You get the plugin. I mean, I've learned to use it into my environment, and which is, I have
Mhm.
one or two clients, far away, and I want to transmit my audio from my session to them while I am talking to them. Basically, that's my dynamic. It's a very simple, straightforward. And then you and I started talking about what I can do, further than that, and it's a really extensive list of possibilities. You can route things from YouTube to the session, and then your client can hear it. You can, have a talk back. I'm working with headphones, but if you want to work with the speakers, you can do that. I mean, there are a ton of things that Nexus can do that I haven't actually explored. But the what I like is that I put it there, I log in, I send the link, and they can hear me. And that's what I care at the end
Yeah,
of the day. So
which
that it is very, very, very friendly, and it's just a couple of steps.
I think that's really kind of the core value. I think, or the common value, regardless of who it is that's using it. That's largely where it comes to, right? Is that face to face conversation with high quality audio, screen sharing, those components, and then the rest of the suite will come up. I guarantee you, it'll come up where the next session. And now I need to bring this audio in from YouTube over here into the session because somebody wants me to compare this to that, or router, like you said, if you're doing classes and you need to be able to capture everything to as part of lesson plans and stuff moving forward. There's so many potential use cases for it that it's going to be impossible to really
cover all of them.
Or to explain it succinctly for everyone out there. But I really like the music mixing POV. To me is perfect. Like Nexus Suite, the price point of where it is, it's $11.95 a month for anyone that is sort of curious about that. I also should note, this is a great time to note that in the description of this video below, you'll see a link to Boris's landing page. So you click on there and you'll find an exclusive deal that we're excited to get into everyone's hands there. But this product was built so that everybody that touches audio can find a use for it, and from every type of income stream. Like, this is something that I would like to think had it existed when I was just coming up, that would have given me more traction to build an international audience, or to capitalize on relationships that I have. They move, right? Like the artist that I love working with the most now lives on the other side of the continent, but that relationship can still stay intact. And that is something that I think has not necessarily been possible without flying in previous cases.
No. The idea of having a client that is actually talking to you and working is far thousands of miles away in Colombia or in Spain or whatever. It's just mind blowing if you think about it. It's just reaching people that you couldn't reach before. It used to be you either got on a plane and go somewhere because you wanted to work with that person at that place, or you just used the one studio and that was in your city, and that was basically it. The only two ways of recording and using a studio. Now with these tools you can do so much, and you can reach people. Say you want to record or mix with a guy in Europe because they are a specialist into a particular sound. You can do that, and that's pretty amazing. I've mixed a lot of tracks that have strings and orchestras in it. That's something that people kind of know me, and I've seen how it is possible now just to record with the strings, in Belarus or in Vienna, and they have this tool and recording a huge orchestra that would be, just so expensive just to travel there and be there and set up. They already are set up, and they just, give you a date, they record it, they send you the files, and you don't have to travel to Vienna to record the strings. So that's pretty amazing.
My actual first experience with Source Elements software was on a movie called The Art of the Steal with Kurt Russell, and it was used to capture an orchestra that was happening in Prague. It was more of like a monitoring. We recorded it on our end just because we weren't sure what the turnaround would be for actually getting all the real assets back. But it was remarkable to be able to tune into this orchestra and hear, scores that the writers had been doing come alive in real time. And at that time, it was like a 320 pixels webcam that was mounted somewhere way up in the corner of this auditorium that they were performing in, and you couldn't really get a sense. But it's really incredible when we think about Atmos. I think there's still a lot of as amazing as it is to be able to do all this stuff remote, we still love the bricks and mortar studios, the amount of equipment that you've got in your room, the effort that you've gone through into calibrating it. Like you said, it's a certified room. So I'm really excited to see the future with Source Connect and what we're doing with Dolby Atmos. To be able to go stage to stage is now going to help that, even if you have this client on the other side. So we can also go into the gateway in a binaural render right off Atmos, or right through Atmos, which is really interesting for headphone users, someone who might be, a band might be on the road between shows or something like that, and be able to
Right.
pop a pair of headphones on and sit at the mix desk with you over the gateway, which would be incredible. But further to that, being able to go from that loudspeaker configuration to another loudspeaker configuration across the planet, and know that you have it any which way you want it, basically is a really exciting future, I think, for the medium
Yeah,
here.
I can say this, and particularly with Atmos, I just mixed something for a Mexican artist, Aida Cuevas, and she is like very well known mariachi singer, and their strings were recorded, I believe, in Prague, and the idea of having it in Atmos and have the all the microphones that are on the ceiling of the studio actually shooting down from your ceiling in the mix is pretty amazing, and
Wow.
something that happens in the mix when you mix a stereo and you listen to the tracks of the string orchestra, you are always blown away. But when you mix it, they become really small, and they become cramped, and the vocal and the drums and all that kind of a step on them, and they become this pad kind of thing. In Atmos is a different story. It's a very, very different experience to have the microphones of a stage, well recorded orchestra played. It's just amazing. I recommend it to everyone. And when we can do that, on distance with these tools, I imagine you can record, the Vienna Orchestra here in Hialeah, and it's you don't have to go to Vienna, so it's amazing.
Very cool. Well, you were just kind of touching on some stuff that leads into another question we've got here. Do you have any mix and or mastering techniques, tricks, or advice that you think anyone watching could benefit from trying out?
Oh, wow, that's a broad question.
Very broad.
Very, very broad question. I'm gonna give one that is not the what I think they expect. They expect use this plugin or use this
Yeah.
this special magic technique. What is important is where you hear your music, where you are listening to. The monitoring is just key to make any decision that you do. Imagine that you are a painter, and if you're painting and you cannot tell the right colors that you're choosing, and you see the ending result of your painting is just different to what you imagined. Same thing with the studio and the music. Your monitoring system is your eyes, and that is must. So the very big conclusion that I want to do is work on your room. If you don't have the budget to work on the room and big monitors or whatever, use nice headphones. I mean, if you can, today you have $200 to $500 headphones that are amazing. I'm not going to say it's the same as having a treated room, but if you don't have a treated room, that is a way to tackle a lot of things, and then start building your skills. And they are listening skills more than buying gear and buying plugins and buying stuff. Listening is where it is at. That's and I'm sorry, it's not the buy this thing is magical and it's going to solve your problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So this might be a bit of a selfish question, but I got to ask it while you're here. Is there anything that strikes you as a glaring common problem? Like when we talked previously, you said often you'll be given a couple key components of the song, whether it's the band separated from the vocals, and you're kind of asked to fix it. Someone once told me that you're supposed to take a divot out of your kick drum to leave a little pocket for your bass, for example. And I feel like that
Yeah.
is something that I always remember about 12 hours too late into a mixing session or something like that. But
Yeah, low end, I think, is the big issue in terms of problems, or things that are always showing up. Low end is always an issue, and again, we come back to the monitoring system. The monitoring, when it's not well treated, the low end is the first one that you can tell is wrong. So if it is not treated, then you make the wrong decisions. And that tip that you just made, which is
Hmm.
carving carving a frequency that the bass is prominent on the kick drum. So meaning, let's say your bass guitar is very rich on 80 hertz. So the first intuition is to give 80 hertz also on the kick because you want more low end. That is what's wrong. That is where everything goes all right. What you do is you give space on the kick on 80 hertz because your bass guitar, is really rich on 80. So you're making space for that frequency to live inside the mix. So what you do is then okay, now okay, but I want my kick also fat. So what you do is you attack on frequencies that are on the sides or even lower, maybe 40 hertz or 38 hertz or something like that, a little bit of that, or maybe a little higher, 120 hertz, where the kick has this thump going on. So that's, and it's a case to case, you know bass, but basically the bass is always really fat, and you have to find that magic frequency where the bass is leaving, that you carve into the kick or the instruments that are kind of fighting. And that's basically one of the key secrets. When I learned this a long time ago, I was like, it's like, nobody told me this. And I was giving low end here and low end there, and everything sounded like, very very thick but not defined. When I found that out, it was like, oh, now I get it. So that's one of the best advices. But again, that's because you're not listening to, in the right environment with the right speakers and the right studio.
Right. Well, um, just a couple things that you said got me thinking about metering, because that's really where I see it. Or I was just thinking about these when you're doing these sort of live sessions, it's a bit of a hidden mix bus that you're fighting with a little bit. You've got this stereo stream that's hitting somebody else, and we're talking, and in most conferencing applications you don't get to choose different inputs, right? They're all collapsing down to one input source, and you're at best going to get a glowing indicator when you're shipping signal over to somebody else, but you're not actually seeing how the ballistics of those of that signal is, and not being able to keep an eye on it. So the one thing that I love about the gateway, and we'll be able to see this better at some point here, we're going to switch over to Boris's gateway, and he can share a Pro Tools mix with us. And you'll see. So at the top of my screen here, we have dedicated meters for the broadcast. So currently, I'm in the host role, so it's an outbound mix. If I were to go over to Pro Tools here and press play, theoretically, so I'm in a very tubby section of my mix, which I'm sure Boris could roast me on right now for not creating space, but it works like that. So it's super, it's nice to be able to see that. I can see that I was sending you almost to digital full scale, and if I was trying to talk over top of that, it's likely that I would be fighting to, one of those things is fighting to be heard correctly. So that's a big part of why we have placed meters everywhere in the interface. Every caller gets a meter, the broadcast mix gets a meter, and it's just very important to be able to keep an eye on what's going out. We've just come to accept that they're everywhere, and most audio devices have meters all over them, and we've lost a lot of that when we moved everything online for COVID. So I'm excited to see that we've kind of got some of our professional tools back into our day-to-day workflows.
Totally. Yeah, headroom is a big issue, especially when you're working in digital world, and headroom for some reason runs out very quickly, and people tend to forget about that. And the interface of the gateway in Nexus really tells you the truth, and it really screams, okay, do something because everything's red.
Hmm.
it's easy to address it.
Yeah.
So it tells you, okay, fix it. But it's a professional tool, and with the right feedback for the user. So yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this briefly before we started the stream up too. Is you and I both like wearing headphones when we're in these situations. I just do it. I like the presence I get. I like that it blocking my furnace out and stuff like that. So it's a preference for me, but it's not a requirement from the gateway. It's been built in such a way that it intelligently understands what is the talkback and what is the broadcast, and so that these echoes aren't bleeding into each other. We lose a lot of this with this sort of what has become normalized workflow of kludging together a bunch of different parts and be like, okay, I'm going to use this to route audio to here, and then I'll use this program to do this. None of it's speaking to each other correctly, and you've kind of lost that professional edge, if you will. So that's been a big part of why we have built things the way we have. If someone's confused as to why do I have so many device assignments in front of me, it's for that reason. It's to help keep you out of trouble and to keep everyone having a really positive listening experience. So yeah, I guess while we're talking about the interface, I might as well just, there's a couple new additions that I believe have come out since the last webinar we did. We've built in the invite function now is easier than ever to ship it over to somebody else. You can just punch in their email address and it's going to have all of the credentials right there that they need. So screen sharing is a huge part of that remote workflow, feeling like somebody's in the room with you. Because often, I don't know, well, it's 50-50. Sometimes the client just wants to sit on the couch on their phone and say, yeah, that sounds good. But other times you get the person who's keen to sit right with you at the desk and really watch what you're doing and be quite involved. So have you had any of those kind of sessions yet with
Oh
Nexus?
yeah, yeah, for sure. The idea of sharing Pro Tools, and it's like I was saying there on the previous anecdote that I had this client, and he asked me something. He wanted a brighter vocal, and he mentioned, he's like, could you make it a little brighter? And then I asked him, okay, well, you mean bright like in the S area or just more presence? And I pushed the plugin, the EQ of that, which it just happened to be a fab filter, which is very friendly. You see the curve and all that, and he says, oh yeah, just push up a little bit of that what you have at the right, and I did that immediately. After a dB or so, he could hear the differences. Like there, he himself said, okay, there, that's enough. So the feedback, the visual feedback of the client seeing me actually doing something, it's really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, most of my clients, they want to sit with me because they want to see how I work, or they want to learn something, or they just want to be involved with the decision making, and that is a must. That's something I wasn't able to do before. Uh, I mean, because it was kind of a clunky system. I had audio going out, but then I had a cell phone with WhatsApp or a Zoom on another laptop, so it wasn't really practical. And the fact that I can do that with Nexus, share the screen, they can see what I'm doing, and they can hear the immediate response of what I just did or what I just moved. It provides an immediate reply. Okay, there, that's what I want, and that it's been very helpful.
Amazing. Have you had any feedback from any of your clients? Were they like, "What is this?" or "Wow, something's different," or or "Wow, that went well."
Basically that. Basically, they say, "Hey, I didn't know this." I mean, they've heard about working from afar. That is not new, but the environment is what is new to me, at least.
Yeah.
And they always the few clients that I have worked on this couple of months, they have said, "Hey, I love this. I like it." Again, the anecdote of the band that we did that on 40 minutes, something that I know it was going to take longer, just because of the dynamics of having four people with power on their sound, plus a producer, and everybody, it's just the way the band is. We did it in less than an hour. That is pretty amazing. They were really happy, and they were pleased, and it was really transparent. It wasn't something clunky or complicated or too technological to understand. It just worked. I mean, that is what I like the best.
Yeah. Just thinking about this mentoring angle still, I'm kind of curious, because you've had an international clientele, probably it sounds like for most of your career, and I think that I'm I'm imagining there's a lot of viewers that are at an earlier stage in their career and are trying to figure out how to reach people outside of their geographic area, outside of their friend circle. What are some of the things that you've done that have helped you build that audience? And is it replicable, or is it some secret sauce that only Boris has?
No. It's no secret. So, well, I can tell you, it takes time. That is for sure. It's not something that you can do immediately. It takes time. It takes experience. The way I've done it basically is a mouth to mouth, recommendation. A client likes what I did. They met someone who did that. They say, well, I have this guy Boris in Miami, blah blah blah, and they ask for my information. Now that takes time. Today, with the social media, Instagram, Facebook, there's a ton of things that you can do to reach out. Now, is everybody going to reply, say, yeah, I love what you do, I'm going to work with you right away? No, I don't think so. But it takes time, and it takes effort. You knock enough doors, until one opens, and then that one will open a couple more, and then a couple more, and that's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is a magical solution, and I think there is a little work for everybody. And if you're good and if you're professional, it will start coming. It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
I That's my view, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think that if a tool like this had existed, in an earlier start of or part of your career, that you would have booked more sessions in that era? Do you think?
Well, I don't know, because I'm telling you, this brings an issue that is not so cool to talk, which is competition. You have a lot of competition now. You have people that have the same tool, and they can be, in uh, Argentina, and
Yeah.
they are doing, and they are pretty good. So they have the same tool. Now, there is a difference. When I started doing this, which is, I don't want to say my age, but it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was a different story. Again, you either go to the studio that was in your neighborhood, in your city, and people would recommend you. Nowadays, the competition is bigger. There's a lot of more information out there, and these tools. I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure you remember the days where post production was done on a telephone line, and that telephone line was a specific telephone line that costed thousands of dollars. Like, it was crazy expensive to have that. This is 1 million times better than that,
Yeah.
and
And a fraction
it's
of the
just so
price.
much,
Yeah.
yeah, at a
Yeah.
fraction of the price. So, I mean, that's the way the movies were done, and you had to go to these big studios with this. I don't remember what was the name, but basically you have to call the a landline telephone system connected to the actual building and work with that, and it costed a lot of money. And today, now you have that. You
Yeah.
have Nexus that is, as you say, a fraction of the cost with your laptop, and you don't have to rent a building and have people and technicians coming to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. Source Connect was sort of an ISDN bridging. I think that the life was extended, um, of ISDN, probably because of Source Connect at some point. So we definitely have a storied history with ISDN, and yeah, it's remarkable. When I first got into the studio biz, that's how it was done. I think it was two phone lines splined together into some
Yeah,
box in the control room that no one really understood how it worked, and it
yeah.
just did. You know?
My studio in Venezuela was in Caracas, and I believe there were two studios in Venezuela that had that installed, and
Right.
they were the only studios that could do that. And and basically one of them was a studio for a TV station. There's a big TV station, and the other one was a private one, and it's just a different way of doing things today.
Well, this is I dream of the world where we get to see more international collaboration between somewhat strangers, you know, where people like this funk player from some other part of the world is working with this punk player from another part of the world, and that we get to some new genres or some just new form of music creation that all this technology can empower. Boris, I think I would love to hear some of your mix, some of that Pro Tools session. So maybe we jump over to your gateway, and I'll try and do that as seamlessly as possible here, and
Okay.
we'll get you in the host seat, and you can show us a thing or two.
Wow. Okay. So let me leave your gateway,
Or yeah, do you
and
want you're all set up in Pro Tools
I
already? And
yes, yes, I have it there. I just have to switch from your gateway to mine.
awesome, me too.
So
I'll see you
let me
there.
leave.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Yeah. Hmm, I'm here. Boris, where are you? Um, Kike is going to join us as well. A real plot twist here, Boris. Well, I'm going to have a look and get caught up on some questions. So, we may have to restart this, do it all again. I'm just going to give it 30 seconds here. I didn't prepare any jokes, so. When are we doing a Nexus webinar for voice talent? I'm going to say next. Let's do that next. I think there's a lot. I've definitely been seeing a lot of questions as it relates to Nexus and voice work, recording, stuff like that.
Sorry,
It's okay.
uh, my problem. I forgot my password.
Oh,
Sorry.
I remembered.
I was
It was a
yeah.
very easy one. Too easy.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So now I'm in my environment,
Yeah.
and basically when I tell my client I would share my Pro Tools, and I'm gonna do that now. Uh, I go to Window and I choose the Pro Tools and I say share, and there it is, I guess. So do you see it?
I do. And
Okay,
just
cool.
for the
And
viewers at home, because my side of the interface doesn't have that, so Boris went down into the tray in the bottom area of the screen, and there's a screen share button in there, and from within there you can select your entire display or application windows, and it looks like Boris has selected his entire screen, which is advisable for Pro Tools because there's a lot of pop-up menus and things like that you won't be able to see.
yeah,
But
yeah, some of them are small, and you can see. So yeah, and I mean, what I'm going to do right now is basically share a little bit of this session. I'm going to take the moment. This is a song from Henry Linares. The song is titled Benji's Joy, It's a band. It was recorded live all together, and Henry is a cuatro player from Venezuela, and who doesn't know a cuatro is it's kind of a guitar far cousin, and it's a traditional folkloric instrument from Venezuela. So it's Elvis Martinez on the contrabass, Daniela Padron on the violin, Manuel Rojas on the flute, Juan Ernesto in the maracas, which are percussion, and Jose Gregorio Hernandez on the other percussion. So if you can see, the session is very compact, and basically you can see what I see. And if I tell my client, okay, I'm going to play a little bit of what the mix that I have for you, and just press play, and you should be able to listen in a second. So I can solo.
That's the quattro.
That's a cuatro.
Yeah.
And now I got a violin. So as you can see, it's a very, very straightforward. You can see what I see. You can see what I do. I can basically, if you ask me, hey, can I see what EQ you have on the violin? And you can tell it's a little dynamic, and then I'm rolling all of, a little bit of the highs, and I'm cutting here, and you can see,
I think you're. That's okay.
Mhm.
The EQ plugin window we couldn't see because I think that.
Oh, sorry,
a separate
sorry.
screen share, but I
I will
understood
have
what you
to.
meant.
But yeah, that's the whole point. So you can tell me stop at the chorus, or I can hear, I want to hear the ending. I want to. Can you solo the bass? And I do that, and you see it. It's a very, very immediate feedback. It's very, very friendly. Once it's working, you don't notice it's working. So I can solo the bass. So and basically I have two basses. One is the high part, and the other one is the low end.
Ooh, that's nice.
So that kind of tricks that people love to see it when I can separate the bass. That's one of the tricks that we're talking about. The kick. So the environment is very straightforward. It's very simple, and it allows you to talk to your client like he's almost there. I mean, the next thing is get in a plane and come here into Miami and sit down with me. So
Hmm.
this is what I like from Nexus.
So, for anyone viewing at home, you notice that there's a little buffer set up here. I have it off right now, and I'm not experiencing any issues whatsoever. But if you're, for whatever reason, in an undesirable network circumstance and you're experiencing any sort of glitches, you could delay it. You could add an offset, and it is going to help stabilize that internet connection, which might help if someone's on the road or something like that. So. Just wanted to throw that in there while we're looking at the guest side of it. But yeah, wow, that
Yeah.
makes me feel like I need to go back to school and learn how to do it properly.
This is very. I mean, the musicians are really good, and it's well recorded. Although it was recorded in a living room, it was professionally recorded. They are just amazing. I just wanted to mention this is the plugin that is the Nexus connection, and you can tell you have a tallback, which I'm not using now because I'm using headphones. But
yes,
if
sorry,
you
the interface, you'll have to share your full screen.
Okay. So let me just go back. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm still learning. So
Make sure your banking isn't set up in the background.
okay, let me put this in the entire screen. Okay, so you see this plugin here And basically, you put it on the master fader, and you select here what's your input device, which right now I'm talking to the webcam that has a microphone. And if you go there, you choose the input, which is one input. You can see me talking, and if I press play,
Yeah, you see.
so it's right there. You can dim it. You can press the talkback. What I was saying is that I'm carrying headphones because I like it like that way. It allows me to talk continuously while I'm listening, and I can hear my client. I don't have to press the talkback. And anyone that has been on a studio with a talkback knows how unpractical that system is, and it's not like a phone that you can talk and listen at the same time. So
That's
uh,
right.
yeah, it's basically I'm having an infinite,
Yeah.
you know. But let me just go back
Yeah,
and
you can stop that. I mean,
yeah.
wow, Boris, I could talk to you for hours and hours on end, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have done so already. And I'm really excited. We've got something cooking up for NAM at the end of the month. We're not quite sure we're ready to explain it all to the public yet, but stay tuned because it's gonna be awesome. Whatever we dream up, and I think that. Yeah, but honestly, just I'm going to be thinking about ways to get you back on, and so we can talk about more. I think that just watching you unpack this mix makes me think we could do a whole other episode just on that. Really, so thank you for your time. It's been an absolute
No,
pleasure, and I guess before we dip, I just want to make sure I am not missing any questions. Uh, bu- 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 how will Atmos review work? So this is backtracking, obviously, a fair bit, but I think that the way that people should think about Atmos right now, as it relates to Gateway, is think about getting your Atmos to a binaural stereo file, a mix, a re-return from the Atmos render back into your Pro Tools session that is already a binauralized stereo file, and just point that at the Nexus Review mix bus, or place that plugin on that track or that mix bus, and then use that as your broadcast out. And then for anyone wearing headphones, they are going to get the binaural Atmos workflow. I think that Atmos is another topic that we could probably spend a full hour
oh
unpacking all
yeah,
the different ways to use it. There's like so many ways to set it up and to operate it that and I'm not the expert on all of them because if you can tell from my wood paneled basement here, I don't have more than well, I have a bunch of speakers, but they're not Atmos certified. That's for sure. Um, do you have anything that you'd like to add or impart on anyone?
well, yeah. I mean, I just wanted to mention about the Atmos, and people have asked me because I try to explain. Okay, you can listen to headphones, and then I've come with that word binaural, and that I keep saying binaural. People reply, yeah, because in stereo, and I have to just explain a little bit that the way Atmos work is it reproduces a binaural, which is not stereo, a blend of the multiple channels. And everybody's like, well, what do you mean is binaural? Stereo, isn't that the same thing? Well, it's really it's not. We hear the human hears in binaural. We blend the sound because the sound that comes from here doesn't just reach this ear; it reaches also this ear in a different volume, in a different frequency, and in a different time. And that is what we call binaural. A stereo is just two sources. So why is that important? It's because Atmos really gives you a sense of space that stereo cannot provide. And when we talk binaural, it's a much nicer, wider, just presentation of the sound. I just
Yeah.
wanted to say that, and that is a difference because then you have to listen to headphones thinking in binaural, and
Hmm.
that's why it's important.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of unknown stuff about binaural still. It seems like like voodoo or some black box that people aren't quite fully understanding. And I think it's because we're in kind of an early stage of implementation of binaural through an HRTF renderer. So an HRTF renderer is a head-related transfer function, I believe is what the acronym stands for, and it is the way that the sounds reflect, like Boris said, well, it hits this ear first and then it hits this ear second, and it's sort of modeling the way that the real world reflections work around a human head. But we all have slightly different head sizes, different ear canals. Someone might have longer hair than somebody else, someone might have broader shoulders. All of this stuff affects how we hear the world. And right now we're using one generalized binaural renderer that is just one. It's probably the anechoic chamber version, and it's probably a dummy head without any hair. So it's not perfect yet, but there's so many advances happening in short order. There's companies out there building cell phone scanners that allow you to map your jawline, in-ears that measure internal ear delays in a more accurate way. We're going to get to a spot probably in the near future where we get personalized HRTFs so that I can listen in this room somewhere else outside of this room. It's truly tuned for me in this listening environment. This is the studio I want to mimic being in elsewhere. So there's a lot of things you need to shoot accurately to recreate that. But I think what Dolby has done a really great job of is simulating a soundstage that people like at this point. It's either that big mix room that everyone, all the Hollywood mixers pine to be in, or a stage that sounds really good that a live band, you wish you could see that band there. And I think that they're approximating between those two worlds right now in a quite an effective way. But really
totally, I kind of makes the comparison when CDs were going in, and the cars didn't have CDs. Cars only have tape decks or radios, and just the more expensive cars had CDs, and it was kind of this very, very high tech thing that it was really expensive, and all of a sudden all the cars had CDs. So something like that is happening with Dolby Atmos. Yeah.
Absolutely. Was one other question that I'd love to address, because I think it's an important one that comes up often, and I think for anyone that's sort of asking about how two people like Boris and I are both musically inclined producer types, both have Pro Tools running. So I'm just going to share my full screen for a second. You won't see this, Boris, but the viewers will. And so I've got Pro Tools open in the background here. I don't need Pro Tools actually for this right now. What I'm trying to show is that I can actually flip my audio mode into Use Original Audio HQ. And what you'll see is, in theory, when I close this, it should be sending over stereo right now. It's not. Or maybe it is in the meters. I'm just sending dual mono, so I'm not seeing the meters moving independently of each other there on my chat. But what I've done now is I've actually opened up the high quality chat so that I can send a high quality signal down it. So theoretically, if I were to let's just change this device to screen capture or something like that. So are you hearing any sort of synth pass through when I do that?
Yeah, I do.
It's pretty faint right now. So anyways, you get the idea. So I could actually be using, if I own Nexus Suite, you own Nexus Suite, I have all the tools on my system to be able to use them in a call environment as the guest, and you have them as the host. So, Nexus Gateway is going to be evolving constantly. I think we have a really exciting future of features and enhancements to bring to this. But for now, I think that is a really good workflow for producer to producer type dynamics, where we both need to share high quality audio to each other. Boris is in the host position, so he's going to have some advantages to that. He can kick people out, he can mute people, he can share his screen. But yeah, sharing high quality audio between each other is not necessarily something that's prohibitive. It's comes with some caveats that we have not built Gateway to be a recording platform. It is designed to kind of work in tandem with with Source Connect, which is an amazing recording platform and has all sorts of fail safes and things that are going to improve your quality of life if you start recording long stuff and so yeah, it's designed to work really well for the limitations of the internet, and with the internet you can experience a lot of disruptions. We haven't heard any from what I can tell inside this call, and
No?
the audio that you've shipped me has been absolutely fantastic and flawless. So
Yeah.
experiments, yeah.
I just wanted to add, because I've had chances or situations where there is an idea that is needed to be recorded right away because maybe there is a space in the track that is kind of falling a little bit. There's nothing interesting going on. And somebody says, hey, can you record like a synth or a little piano or a lick, or can you play a little guitar thing there and we can add it and paste it there? That is something that this environment will allow to do it really quick, because I can just tell you what to do. You would record it, send the file, and I imported it, and bam, problem solved.
Yeah. Boris, such a pro, taking his headphones off when I'm sending him his voice back to him.
I lost contact with you. I see everything, but I cannot hear you.
My bad. There you go.
Ah,
Sorry. Yeah,
there you
I
go.
was juggling the roles of trying to show that high quality thing there, and I actually sent your audio back to you for a second there, so I apologize for that. But for anyone viewing at home who's not also trying to do a live stream out to YouTube, it'll be a lot simpler and straightforward to follow. So thank you for everyone who has watched us. Thank you to you, Boris, immensely. It's been such a treat to have this conversation with you and to generally know you now. So I'm excited to. I'm going to call you up and get you to fix some of my mixes, I think. So.
You got it. You got it. I have to thank you for the opportunity to be here and just chat with you, with all these people listening. It's just very cool. Anytime.
The pleasure is all ours. Check out Boris's site. I think we'll end up updating the description if it doesn't have it already, but we'll link to your bio and all that stuff. And don't forget to click on Boris's landing page that we've built. It's got an exclusive deal there. And a 90-day trial for Nexus Suite, so no excuses when you can try it out for that long. Fall in love.
Yeah, you got a trial, and you have a special offer, and I'll post it too in my Instagram and the Facebook, so you can use it. I think this is a pretty cool tool to have. I like it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Boris, and take care, everyone. We'll see you soon. Also, stay tuned for details on a VO webinar, an Atmos webinar. We're going to keep them coming. I think they're really fun to do, and I hope everyone's getting a lot out of them. So we'll see you soon.
Take care. Be
Take care,
safe,
Boris.
everyone. Thank you.